Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Star Wars The Force Awakens Black Series 6-inch Kylo Ren. That's right, this is the guy who we presume is one of the bad guys in the film. He sure does have himself a red lightsaber, but is he a Sith? Well, I don't actually know. We know very little about this guy yet, but I do know he's a pretty cool looking character, and he's one I was very excited to get in action figure form, so let's check him out. As you can see, he comes in that new style Black Series window box packaging. It's a full black box with a nice bright red color behind the figure inside, as well as a red spine on the box. And the lower portion shows us an image of Kylo Ren, which we can also see on the back side of the box with a very brief bio for the character that, well, doesn't really reveal a whole lot about him yet. So let's go ahead and get Ren outside of the packaging and take a closer look at him. So, as you can see, he does have a very Sith look to him, and the fact that he's wearing an all-black motif. This figure is one of those figures that combines both the cloth robes with the plastic robes. And while I've always been a little critical of that in the past, because there are definitely some times where I don't feel like the combination of the two work really well, I will say that Hasbro did a pretty good job with this particular figure. I feel like the cloth robes in the areas where they made them cloth actually suits the figure very well. You can see this whole area on the robe that's basically hanging from his chest all the way down are nice flowy cloth robe pieces. But the arms, the little piece hanging around his neck that kind of drapes over his back, that's all plastic. However, the hood coming up is also a cloth hood. And it actually works together really well. You can see the colors blend in pretty naturally, and the robe itself has a nice flow to it. It's a really good material that's kind of thinner. You can see it's got a little bit of a texture to it too. If I get a little zoomed in here, you can see the texture, and I really like that. I think that looks really nice. If you lift up those robes, you can see that he does have some plastic robes underneath that that are slit, so that way it's not going to hinder the articulation of the legs, and you can see he just kind of has those flowing black pants on underneath that. There is a plastic belt going around his waist that holds this robe in place. It does not look like this belt is meant to be removed. There's no strap or fastener or anything on there that allows me to take this off. So the robe itself is not meant to be removed, but it is all just this plastic material underneath that robe. And then if we come back up here to the head, you can see he's got that cloth hood as well. Now the cloth hoods are always hit or miss because they don't always necessarily sit the right way, which can cause some problems. But you can see that you can actually kind of work this out so that it does sit pretty good. It does kind of pop out a little too far on the side, a little more than I'd like, but for the most part, I do like the way that this looks. I think it turns out pretty well. It's also kind of neat that we can pull that hood back and we can get a closer look at his helmet, which is really the closest look we've seen at his helmet so far, as you know, none of the trailers or anything really reveal exactly what this helmet looks like other than what we can see of his face there. So it's a pretty cool design. I like it. It's mostly solid black, but it's got some nice silver designs going around the eyes there, and then the eyes themselves have a bit of a glossy look, so that way they kind of shine underneath the mask there. So it's a pretty cool look for a character. I really like this. And I do feel like that the plastic robes going around his neck and draping down look very nice and really kind of help blend the overall look together with both the cloth robe and the plastic robe. So he's a pretty cool looking character, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and talk articulation with this guy. The head is on a ball joint, just like we've seen with the other Black Series figures. The movement is slightly hindered by the shape of his helmet hitting on this plastic robe around his neck, but it's not too bad. You can see that I can still get a pretty good range of motion there, and I can get the head to kind of look up and down. It's really tight, though, so you're not going to get a ton of movement out of it, but I feel like it's enough. We do have the ball joints at the shoulders, so the arms can go outwards, they can move forwards and backwards there. We've got the swivels at the elbow, we got the standard elbow joint, we got the swivels at the wrist, and then we do have the hinges as well, so you can actually move the hands up and down there. He does have torso twist underneath there, and it actually turns very well even though he's wearing that cloth robe. You can see I'm still able to turn his upper body side to side, which is very nice. He's got the ball joints at the thighs, which are underneath all of the robes that he's wearing there. So the legs can split out about that far. They can still move forwards and backwards with a great range of motion, so it's not hindered by the robes. You can swivel it at the thighs there. We do have the nice double joints at the knees. You can see how we can bend the knees there, so that's a great range of motion. And then the ankle has the ability to kind of rock side to side, as well as move up and down. So we got a pretty great range of motion with this guy, which is going to be very nice to pull off some of those great kind of lightsaber battle poses, or, you know, even try to reenact some of the poses that we've seen him in the trailer so far. So that is going to bring us to his one included weapon, which, of course, is that lightsaber. And Kylo Ren does have a very unique lightsaber, as he's the first one that has a crossguard blade, which I always thought was really cool. I think it's neat that we've seen so many different designs of lightsabers over the years. I mean, guys like Count Dooku had a fencing lightsaber. So the fact that Kylo Ren's got a crossguard is actually kind of neat, gives a bit of a medieval feel. And I mean, come on, as many guys have lost their hands doing lightsaber battles, I think that crossguard actually makes sense. Now, this is pretty interesting the way that Hasbro pulled this off, because the blade is removable like we've seen on all of the other Black Series lightsabers. So you can see I can pop that blade right off. You'll notice that the little crossguard blades are connected to the center blade with kind of this little power phase here. So you don't pull out three separate blades, it's all still one blade. And I think that works pretty well for the feature of being able to remove the blade. However, I don't believe this is what the saber looks like when he ignites it in the film. So it's one of those things you got to kind of look past for that feature. But I don't know, I honestly kind of hope that there's another version of this where it doesn't have a removable blade and we just have the clean blades coming out of the side and shooting out from the main blade there without these little power blasts in the middle of it. But for the most part, it's not too bad. I also notice he's got quite a bit of crackle going on in his saber. It almost makes me feel like this guy might not actually be a Sith. Maybe he's not, really strong in the Force, built his own makeshift saber, and that's why it's not as clean of a blade. I don't know. I'm totally just guessing and hypothesizing right now. We know nothing about this guy. But it is worth noting that he holds the lightsaber in both of his hands very well, and we can get some really nice two-handed poses out of it, which I feel is essential. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new 6-inch Kylo Ren from Star Wars The Force Awakens Black Series. This figure is awesome. This is one of my favorites in the line so far, but, I've always been partial to the bad guys. I think this character has a really cool look, and I'm very anxious to see what type of a character he is in the film when it gets released. So since Force Friday has come and gone, this guy is now available on store shelves. So happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.